The final piece of the puzzle is to keep the data that we save in our favorites array persisted across our app launches, so it's always available for the user, regardless if they've restarted the app or even restarted their phone. The first thing we're going to look at is the settings QML type on the Qt documentation. This tells us that it provides persistent platform independent application settings. So basically what it does is it drills into those persistent settings into each platform, iOS, Android, Windows, etc., and stores stuff in them. Now, if you want to know what this can do, then simply read through this page. The details are at the top, but if you just search for settings QML type, you'll come across this page. And so basically what it does, in our case, is allow us to save and retrieve the strings that we're interested in saving. So we can have things like category, file name, if we're using a file, but in platforms like iOS and Android, these are just default key value stores, key value pairs that are stored in the application setting. You shouldn't use this method if you want to slice and dice your data, otherwise you'll be doing a lot of manual manipulation, which is a bit annoying. You'd want to look at things like SQLite to do that kind of thing, or whatever homegrown database solution you want to use. But in this case, it's just storing a list of stuff, so it's perfectly fine, and our text file is never going to get that big, so we can live with it. So where should we store this settings object? Well, let's have it in data model. Up at the top, we first need to import what we need in order to access this persistent data. So we're going to import the following: Qt.labs, and you'll notice it gives us a bunch of settings here, and we can just scroll on to labs.settings 1.0. So now we're ready to use that settings object. Now let's add it somewhere up here, perhaps after is favorite. Let's create a settings object. And this will, first of all, have a property string, which is the favorite listings values. Just double check your spellings always. And this is going to stringify our favorite listings values. Make sure my braces all line up. I think I put an extra one in there. Let's not have any more errors in this course. So unprofessional. Okay. Then what do we want to do? Well, we want to actually commit this to memory. So we want to do this when the component has completed. Component.onCompleted. So we know that it's ready to go. And so we want to set our favorite listings values, our array, so it's this array here. We want to drag this out of this local storage whenever the app loads. So it's equal to the favorite listings values, which is this property here, and JSON.parse favorite listings values. I'll explain all of this in a minute. Or empty array. Right, so I think let's remove one of these brackets. There we go, that's all right. So we just have a shortcut here where we're saying check out these two items. If they're both true, if we've got these favorite listings values, then use that value. If they're not true, then we'll have an or, use just an empty array. So we'll set an empty array at the start. I'm not sure that is totally necessary because we actually set it, well, we don't set it there. So it is necessary. Okay, so we're going to save that. And then we're going to run it in our live player. So obviously I'm on Windows. This is dragging out the local settings from Windows, but it works exactly the same across all platforms. So first of all, let's go to our favorites and let's clear them. Favorites gone. Now let's search for something in Manchester. Let's have a building in Stretford in the center. Whoops. and Jefferson Place, why not? Okay, so now we have 3 favorites, which are right here. What happens if I close this? So I've closed the app. I hit the live player again. We're going to load up. Now that array has gone, but if we hit favorites, the settings object has brought back that array for us and put it into the array. Brought back the data from local storage and put it back into that array. So it persists across app launchers, which is really, really useful. Now the beauty of this is this is automatically listening to what we're doing. So if I unheart this, it's gone from here, but if I close the app and then I open it, it's also gone from the settings property. So if I open favorites again, we only have those 2 objects. So everything plumbs together really nicely. And this is what I like about vPlay, is that is all you need for this particular settings. In something like, I don't know, iOS or Android, you would first have to call something like user defaults. You would then have to set something. What do you have to do after set? You would have to commit it, because it doesn't just save it. You have to commit or save, something like that. And that's just to set something. If you want to read it, well, you have to call user defaults again. You would have to read or get it, and you don't have to do this step. But that's 2 or 3 lines that you save. And when you do that here and there, it really adds up, which is why our application is currently really, really short on logic lines. I mean, this is not a lot of code for what our app can do. Anyway, that's the end of this section. So in the next lecture, I'll just summarize everything we've done.